President Cyril Ramaphosa says state capture has robbed South Africans of a bright future. The president was reacting to recommendations contained in the state capture report. Earlier this month, the Zondo Commission handed over its final and amended report to the president. To date, 165 people have appeared in court facing state capture charges.
My fellow South Africans, I'm addressing you on the fulfillment of a responsibility that was given to the President of the Republic nearly 6 years ago.
A moment many South Africans have been waiting for.
I wish to outline the critical actions that government is taking and the work that has already been done to give effect to the Commission's recommendations and forever bring an end to state capture.
Answers after 3 years of investigation and over 300 witnesses interviewed by the Commission. When the final report was handed over, the question in many people's mind was, now what? Addressing the nation, President Ramaphosa reiterated that state capture had robbed ordinary South Africans of a bright future.
Despite our achievement at bringing state capture to an end, its effects remain. The difficulties and challenges our country is facing today have many causes, but state capture made a substantial contribution to many of our challenges. When we do not have enough locomotives to carry goods to our ports, when our power stations fail, when our national airline closes routes and cancels flights, when the employees of a state-owned enterprise are not paid, and when our security services are slow to respond to public unrest, we feel the hand and effects of state capture.
Now, to ensure that the recommendations of the Commission come to effect, the President has called for a national effort.
The response to state capture must be a national effort.
President Ramaphosa says the capturing of the state was deliberate and well orchestrated.
State capture was facilitated by a deliberate effort to subvert and weaken law enforcement and intelligence agencies so as to shield and sustain illicit activities, avoid accountability, and to disempower opponents.
The President also announced that, thus far, law enforcement agencies have been granted preservation orders to the value of 12.9 billion rand. 2.9 billion rand stolen has also been recovered, while SARS has collected 4.8 billion rand in unpaid taxes. The Commission's work has cost the country close to R1 billion.
Our law enforcement agencies have to date been granted freezing or preservation orders to the value of 12.9 billion rand. A total of 2.9 billion rand has been recovered and returned to the affected entities, and SARS has collected 4.8 billion rand in unpaid taxes arising from the work of the Commission. Consideration is being given to claims for civil damages against companies implicated in state capture and to ban them from doing business with the state.
Making sure that state capture doesn't happen again is another consideration.
The Commission made detailed recommendations about the establishment of an independent public procurement anti-corruption agency. It also recommended the establishment of a permanent anti-corruption commission that would have oversight over both Parliament and the Executive.
Meanwhile, an eye is kept on a further 595 individuals and 1,044 entities that have possibly benefited from the illegal flow of funds from state capture. Ntlantla Khatlani, SABC News, Johannesburg.
In his address, the President also commended whistleblowers for their contribution to the work of the Commission. He also says their protection is critical and wants to ensure that they're better protected. Cynthia Stimpel, SAA Whistleblower, and Ngoye Passenger Rail Agency Whistleblower join us live now. Thank you so much to you both for your time. I'll begin with you, Cynthia. Did the recommendations go far enough as far as whistleblowers are concerned? Are you hopeful from what the President is saying is likely to happen going forward, that there could be better protection?
Thank you for inviting us, Ngoye. I'm speaking on behalf of the Whistleblower House at this point in time. We feel that no, he may not have gone far enough, but we do welcome the review. We do welcome that they're going to look at the Protected Disclosures Act, although we feel that work could have been done already. And so therefore, whistleblowers need to receive the necessary protections, and that what was said about the possible award for whistleblowers on a proportion of funds recovered, that's something quite welcoming, and whistleblowers to be afforded the immunity from criminal and civil action against honest disclosures. So there are some parts that we feel that add some value, although we feel a lot more could have been done.
And do you think, though, that the apportioning, Cynthia, of a fixed percentage of the monies, particularly where their evidence was material, as the President says, in really disclosing what was going on there, and do you think that will help as far as ensuring that some of the financial issues that whistleblowers are then left with, in other instances are concerned? Would it help?
It could add to the assistance of whistleblowers. So if we look at what's happening in the States at the moment, they have something similar where they give a percentage of funds recovered. So what's happened in South Africa, whereby we've had the 2 trillion whistleblowers, Masila Matepo and Bianca Goodson, who have been able to, in their evidence, been able to recoup funds which were given back to Eskom. So one could foresee then that they get a percentage. But on the other hand, one needs to look at a balance, because there are some, for instance, Martha can speak on her side, but for me, I just stopped a transaction from happening. So no money left the organization, saved the organization with 256 million. Where does that fit in? Would there be a percentage then? So all this still needs to be discussed. And there are those type of whistleblowers who also in their sphere managed to stop any transaction, lost their jobs subsequently, and save the organization. So there was no recoupment of funds. So one needs to look at a broader calculation for that. But indeed, there needs to be a whistleblower fund set up, and indeed, whistleblowers should be compensated, because the suffering that they have, the pain, the loss of income is far more greater than one sees when you speak to a whistleblower. You only see the tip of the iceberg of the impact and the knock-on effect on their lives, their livelihoods, their families, their children.
Martha, for you, the President saying that whistleblowers need to be encouraged to report instances of fraud and corruption and need to be protected from victimization, prejudice and harm. After what you heard yesterday, do you think more whistleblowers will heed this call?
Hi, Ngoye. Thanks for inviting us. It's a very difficult question you ask because, sorry, I just need to get rid of this call. Because at the end of the day, the continued victimization of whistleblowers is happening. The reality is that we do continue to be in an expensive litigation, destroying of careers and characters, which are carried out by members of the ruling party in many instances. So, whether people will be encouraged to come forward depends on, I guess, the character of the people that will be involved. The President indicated that work is being done to amend by the Department of Justice to amend the Protected Disclosure Act. That is well and good, but that will hopefully serve future whistleblowers. But let's talk about the current whistleblowers. You know, I was hoping that more would be said about the current whistleblowers, where to from here. But nothing was said. And therefore, I'm not sure whether people will still be encouraged to come forward.
Mother, there was an internal process at PRASA, you know, against you, and there was, you know, an internal disciplinary hearing. What's the latest on that, if you're able to tell us?
Well, I'm still subjected to the disciplinary hearing. That's why I speak about the relentless and the continuing harassment of whistleblowers. I'm still due to attend my disciplinary hearing that is continuing mid-November. I've been at home really for almost 21 months, and I've been paid, you know, to sit at home. So I can't speak much, obviously, of the disciplinary hearing. But, you know, in my view, we subjected to trumped-up charges, to things that should not be there. Yeah, it's just, you know, the experience that one would not wish anyone, even your worst enemy, to go through. So I'm still subjected to that. I still have a lawsuit of 45 million rand that is against me. You know, in an instance where I didn't receive the 45 million rands. You know, if I had received it and I was part of that particular transaction, I would probably have thought otherwise. I've had nothing to do with that. The company that received the money has been let to go scot-free. I'm expected to pay the money, and yet I'm the person that assisted PRASA to get the money from that company that received the money. And there's no enforcement, you know, as far as that company is concerned, but I'm the person that is being hounded down.
So I will come back to you because I want to get your thoughts even on the commission and what the president said yesterday. But let me quickly go to Cynthia. Cynthia, the president talking about, of course, that process that we know has commenced, the review of the Protected Disclosures Act and Witness Protection Act to ensure there's protection, you know, for whistleblowers, among others. And I'd like to borrow from some of what you know, was one of the reactions of one whistleblower on Twitter. That's Arthur Williams. He writes, state capture whistleblowers need urgent support and protection. We need support and tangible action. This does not need to wait for legal reform. Are you confident that this process of re-looking at these acts is going to yield some kind of result when it comes to the protection of whistleblowers?
Thanks for the question, Ngoye. Firstly, is that they should be engaging whistleblowers when they work on the reform. The civil society and some of the whistleblowers have taken the initiative to start working on the Protected Disclosures Act and adding value to it, and wanted to or had tried to engage with the Department of Justice. And I'm not sure if there've been any meetings regarding that yet. But however, we're willing and happy and ready to engage with the Department of Justice and the National Anti-Corruption Advisory to assist them in developing an appropriate strategy to protect and assist whistleblowers. For me right now is if they go ahead and work with that without consulting any of the whistleblowers, it's not going to add too much value, I feel, because we're the ones that have suffered, and as Martha can attest, and many other whistleblowers, and yet, you know, they may just change one or two in the law, like the amended PDA in 2017. All they added was broaden it to beyond employer and to other people who can foresee or have witnessed a wrong. But there's no knock-on effect, the impact of what happens to the organization. So let's just take the company who has committed the crime that the whistleblower spoke out. There is no consequences in the PDA for that. So a lot more needs to be done. The long suffering of whistleblowers, the protection that they should not be victimized. Right now, each organization is utilizing their method that they, through the legal framework, they're weaponizing that whole legal framework against whistleblowers, where they know the whistleblower does not have the funds, cannot survive, cannot challenge. Their mouth is speaking about a 45 million. They know it, and they know it's wrong, but they're doing it. And the legal organization who's assisting these companies continue doing it, knowing they're doing something unethical. And that for me is, one cannot even equate why they're doing it.
Mother, the president saying that a decision on the establishment of a special commission into PRASA will be held in abeyance until the completion of the investigations by the Hawks and the SIU, as well as a review by the PRASA board. Of course, this is going to look at whether or not these entities will deal sufficiently with what has come out from the State Capture Commission. Then a decision can then be made. Do you think that these entities will deal sufficiently with what happened at PRASA, or do you still think that a special inquiry into what happened there needs to be established?
Ngoye, a special inquiry into PRASA's affairs is long overdue. I mean, and I don't agree with the president for saying that it should be held in abeyance insofar as the other work is being done by the various bodies. The SIU have a proclamation that they received, I think, far gone back as 2018, to look into the affairs of PRASA. What has happened to that investigation? The Hawks have been investigating issues at PRASA since 2015. We're sitting in 2022. What has happened to those investigations? There have been low-hanging fruits that could have been utilized. All the information has been made available to these state institutions to do their work, but nothing has been done. One wonders why. And to say that, this work must be completed, when is it going to be completed? When 7 years later, we're still waiting for something to happen insofar as the investigation that was commissioned by the Hawks was concerned. I mean, I don't agree with that. I think there is a lot more that needs to be done. Furthermore, the destruction of PRASA that has been seen by everybody, the rail network that has been destroyed, who's looking into that? I don't think that the SIU has been given a mandate, or the Hawks have been given a mandate to look at who's responsible for causing the destruction to the PRASA network. Why? Is it because it's only focused on the poorest of the poor? It's not right. I mean, I don't agree with the state president for having said that all these bodies must be allowed to do their work. They've been given an opportunity to do their work. What have they done to date?
And Martha, I'm going to ask you, a bit of a personal question here. There was a point when you were fearing for your safety, and you felt that you needed to get a bit more protection. Do you feel safe?
You can never feel safe, Bongiwe. I mean, you don't know. I'm not going to be paranoid, and be watching everywhere I go. I don't know. By the grace of God, I survive, and I continue to say that. One is very careful because there's quite a lot of information at one's disposal. I mean, I've been approached by the Hawks to assist them, in the PRASA matter, and I've been assisting the Hawks since 2015, 2016. And one thing I said to the Hawks is that it's interesting that as one arm of the state, you come to me for my assistance, and yet on the other hand, another arm of the state is harassing me insofar as the same issues are concerned. So it's very confusing and very unfair, and there's no direction as to what is actually happening. But I can't live my life in fear. I'm careful. I take each day as it comes.
Cynthia, is there an understanding, and listening to Martha, and I remember at some point speaking to Musilo Mutepu as well as Athol Williams, and they talk about the difficulties that can never be measured in terms of money or basically any other quantifying method to really quantify the cost of whistleblowing. Is there an understanding of the toll that whistleblowing takes on the life of the whistleblower, on their families and those around them? Is there really, truly an understanding here?
Ngoye, I think very few people fully understand. Until you're in the situation, you yourself as a whistleblower, as you walk that lonely path, you then discover what the impact has been on your life, your family's life, and everything around you. So for us right now, I think, firstly, as Whistleblower House and many of the other societies we're working with, like the Active Citizens Movement, SARAC, and many of our whistleblowers, what we're trying to do is create that awareness for people to understand that it's not just that you whistleblew and you're left alone. The reason why we spoke out was because we had loyalty and we wanted to protect that organization. Instead, the organization turns against us. And not only that it's you lose your job, or in the case where even if you're suspended and you're getting paid, you are frustrated. They put case after case, trumped up charges against you that frustrate you completely to a point where you think you're going mad. And you can't understand why this is happening to you. The second thing is that even if you're out of the water now, you've closed and you've closed the door on your organization, you cannot find another job, and that stigma remains with you. Myself, even as a board director, applying for jobs, it has been difficult. So the knock-on effect that you can't earn a constant income, the fact that it has an impact on your psychological and mental health, the fact that it impacts your family, it's this long-term, constant knock-on effect.
Right.
And so therefore, one of the reasons we as Whistleblower House have started the Whistleblower House is to assist whistleblowers and to create that awareness, because no one sees that. Government certainly has not seen it. When they make a bland statement like there will be protection for whistleblowers and we will change the act, but he doesn't say the why and the how, means they don't understand. And that's really where the issue is.
Let me thank you both for your time. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you so much for your time to you both. Cynthia Stimpel, Whistleblower House. She's also an SAA whistleblower. Ngoye, Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa whistleblower. Let's go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll speak to the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal.